Hi, my name is Michael Palmer. I am one of the pastors of Living Vine Church here in Napa, California, and it's my privilege to share with you some of the stuff that God has been doing in our church over the past year. Our church seeks to, as a community, to embody three simple principles: to love God, to love each other, and to serve our community. And our church has really stepped into these values in some beautiful ways over the past 12 months. Now, one of the ways that we have done this really well is our leadership has really taken to spiritual formation. They are no longer content just coming on a Sunday morning and hearing the word, but they are wanting to participate in the growth of one another. And so we've had some of our leaders step up and really begin to do some spiritual formative work with other folks within the congregation. There's some Bible studies that have been started. There's a group led by Reverend Elizabeth Potter, focused on prayer. She leads a group of people in prayer an hour before our Sunday gathering, and then each week a new person within the group will spend the worship gathering praying for our time together as a church. And she is in the process of planning a day of prayer for our community and really embodying what it means to not just show up on a Sunday, but to live a life of kingdom ethics and to live a life of spirit-filled prayer. Another really great way our church is embodying what it means to be a people of the kingdom is in their commitment to being a part of a wider church, not just here in Napa, not even within our own denomination, but historically as well. Our worship gathering has really made it a priority to take a look at not just the seasons in our culture, but the seasons of the church. So recognizing that there is a rhythm in the way the church moves and has operated over the centuries. And they've come to value and cherish that as well, either through art or through colors. We remember and reflect and teach on the various seasons and feasts of the church, as well as we this year committed to practicing the Eucharist together as a community every single week. One of the neat things about that is every week a different community member serves the church communion. And so there's this really beautiful service to one another that has been formed in the coming to the table and the breaking of the bread and the drinking from the cup. It's not a pastor to people, but it's a people serving one another. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch as a pastor. And another way that this has been lived out in our church is Napa is a valley which recently was polled to find that about 30% of our residents are food insecure, which means that there are these families, a high percentage of children who don't necessarily know where their next meal is coming from, or they're only one paycheck away from not having enough to make ends meet and not have enough to eat a nutritious meal. And so one of the ways we've tried to solve this is to create a partnership with some civic leaders, some other nonprofit leaders in the valley to form a group in which we find all of these. Napa's a food-centric valley, a food-centric place. And so we have all of these incredible events that happen with catered food. And often after these events, these chefs or these restaurants will just throw all of this really usable, healthy, nutritious food away. Well, this nonprofit is going to these events, and they're getting permission to take this usable, nutritious food and then going back to some of our community connections and then redistributing this food to some of the food insecure families in our valley. And one of the things that's really been neat is watching our people understand that the church is not just what happens within these four walls. We can talk about church colors, we can talk about the church calendar year, but that is not only what it means to be the community of faith. We do these things in order to go back out into our world and to shape it and form it. And so our people are beginning to see through their own personal formation, through the formation of the community, and then the engagement and the hurt in our own city, they're beginning to embody and live out a very beautiful kingdom ethic. And it has been a privilege as a pastor of this church to watch them take steps in holy living. So it is a privilege to be a pastor here, and it is a privilege to share a little bit about what God is doing here. And so with this, I humbly submit this report.